Hi, it's Professor Bingle. Welcome back to the Dynamics of Fitness and Wellness. We're going to review the 4 health-related components of fitness, as well as the FIT principle. To start, we need to talk about the overload theory. This sounds like it could be something like bad, like overtraining or something, but what it actually means is that in order to improve our fitness level, we need to do a little bit more than what we can currently do. So if I can currently run a mile, in order to improve and adapt, I will need to slowly increase that to 1.25 miles, and then after another week or two, 1.5 miles. So I'm going to progressively overload my body until I reach my goal. The specificity principle is exactly what it sounds like. So our body adapts to the whatever it is that we do. So if I run a lot, my body becomes better at running. If I lift weights a lot, I become stronger. Now let's talk about cardio. So cardio has so many benefits. Sometimes people look at cardio as just a way of burning calories. And sometimes people look at it as like this miserable experience of being like on a treadmill for hours or something. But there are so many benefits beyond just burning calories. Some of them are physiological, like lowering your resting heart rate, lowering your blood pressure. Some of them have to do with lowering your disease risk, certainly of cardiovascular disease, but also of many forms of cancer, type 2 diabetes. Stress management is key. Can lower your anxiety, can lower your depression, improve your sleep, and just improve your mood right now after you finish your workout or during your workout, like the runner's high. Can definitely improve your sports performance. And as we talked about before, it can burn calories like now, right now, while you're doing the exercise, and then a little bit shortly thereafter. In the class, we're going to do at least one cardio assessment. You'll choose whether you want to walk 1 mile or run 1.5 miles. If you're a runner, choose the run. Otherwise, walk for a mile. If we're in a face-to-face setting, we may choose to do the 3-minute step test. Now, incorporating our FIT principle, so frequency, intensity, time, and type, these are the factors that help us determine our progressive overload. So for cardio, our frequency should be 3 to 5 times a week. Our intensity should be a certain percentage of our maximum heart rate, right? So if we take our heart rate, or if we have a heart rate monitor, we're going to make sure that our heart rate is in the training range of maybe 65, 70, 75% of our maximum heart rate. We can also determine intensity by a talk test. Do I feel out of breath? If I can talk with someone in paragraphs about all the fun things I did last weekend, I'm not working out hard enough. You can also use a rating of perceived exertion, which is a chart that I will show you in just a moment. Now, each workout is going to last, right? Time is going to last 20 to 60 minutes, and that is exclusive of the warm-up and cool down. So many different ways to do cardio. You can walk, you can dance, you can do Zumba, you can do basketball, you can bike, you can swim, you can play soccer, play lacrosse. Now, here is our rating of perceived exertion scale. So this is a way to determine intensity without actually taking your heart rate. A 6 or a 7 would be like what I'm doing right now. I'm kind of sitting here talking to a computer. So my intensity is very, very light. If I got up and walked up and down the steps in my house, that might get me up to an 11 or a 12. If I take my puppies and I go out for a run, that probably would be 16 or 17, getting close to very hard. Now, we are going to do an exercise log in this class. It is one of the 2 major assignments that you will have. And here's an example of how you could go about doing that. Monday, I jogged for 30 minutes and my heart rate was 140 beats per minute. So you've told me frequency, I went on Monday. Intensity, 140 beats per minute. Time, 30 minutes. Type, jogged. Wednesday, I played basketball for 45 minutes and I felt out of breath throughout. Because if you're playing basketball, you're not going to stop to take your heart rate. Saturday, I took an MMA class. It was an hour. I perceived it to be a 16, which is hard. Those are all ways to accomplish the exercise log. Now, moving on to our second component of health-related fitness, and that is strength. So many benefits to strength training. Everyone should do strength training. Young, like my daughters are 12 and 14, they do strength training. I do strength training. Your parents should do strength training. Everyone should do strength training. It helps us perform our activities of daily living. It does improve our appearance. Can't deny that. Improves our athletic performance. It will raise our metabolic rate, and it will allow us to actually burn more calories while we're just sitting around living our lives, not even exercising. It will stop or slow muscle loss. So strength training is not just about getting buff or cut or any of those things. After the age of 25, we start to lose a lot of our lean body mass. So strength training can help us maintain that. In class, we're going to do 2 assessments. We're going to do push-ups and crunches to help determine kind of where we are and give us a place to start and maybe help us with some goal setting moving forward. Now, going on with the Fitt principle, right? Frequency, intensity, time, type. I need to work all of my muscle groups a minimum of twice every week. One way to accomplish that is to do a full body workout twice a week. Now, I want to make sure there's 48 hours rest between my 2 workouts. So, for example, if I do squats today, this is Saturday, I'm going to make sure I don't do them again until Monday to make sure that I have a minimum of 48 hours rest so that my body can repair and recover. Now, if you do a split routine or some other method of training, that's great. If you're just beginning, probably simpler just to do 2 full body workouts. Now, how do I measure intensity? Well, sometimes we use percentage of 1 rep max. So if I know that I can deadlift 500 pounds, which I cannot, I would take a percentage of that and figure out where my workout should be. For most of us, we're going to use volitional fatigue. So I want to get to the point with my reps by 9 and 10 that it is really challenging and I'm not sure that I can do another one. I don't have to go to total failure where I'm like dropping the weights on the floor. I'm going to do a minimum of 2 to 3 sets working 8 to 10 muscle groups for a full body workout. I can use all different methods of training. I can use dumbbells, bands, free weights, Pilates, boot camp machines, medicine balls. There's so many different options. With the experience of needing to work out at home, a lot of people are using like a TRX or exercise bands and things that we would not have maybe considered before. Now, as far as your full body strength training, here are some hints. Right? We need to start with compound movements using our larger muscle groups. So things like squats, lunges, deadlifts, and so on. We have to be sure to balance the front and the back. Okay, so if we're going to do chest, if we're going to do push-ups and bench press and incline and decline bench press, you have to do just as much for your back, right? You need your rows, you need your reverse flies, you need your pull-ups. We want to make sure that we balance like triceps and biceps. We want to balance our core. We don't just want to do a bunch of crunches. So we want to make sure we work the front of our core, the back, the sides, the obliques. We want to make sure that we strengthen our weak muscles and stretch our tight muscles. So for example, we want to make absolutely sure that we stretch the front of our shoulders and our chest. We want to stretch our hip flexors. Those are muscles that get really tight when we're just sitting, driving, that sort of thing. We want to make sure we strengthen weak muscles like our upper back muscles because many of us don't have the best posture, right? So we want to make sure that we strengthen those muscles. Now, as part of your exercise log, you will need to be familiar with the major muscle groups, right? This is not A&P. You don't need to know every tiny little muscle group, but you need to know the major ones. So you need to know pecs, our chest muscles, major chest muscles, pecs. The front of the arm is the bicep. Rectus abdominis is the six-pack muscle, and quads are the front of the leg. Those are the ones in the front of the body that you would be responsible for. In the back, we have the trapezius, right? It's a little bit triangular shaped, trapezius. And we have your lats here, the blue ones, right? Kind of middle back, they call it. And then lower back, this pink muscle is your erector spinae. I don't know what happened to my picture, but the back of your leg would be your hamstrings, and the back of your arm here kind of would be your triceps. Now, moving on to flexibility, our third component of health-related fitness. Sometimes this one gets overlooked. I know I'm guilty of that sometimes. Benefits of doing flexibility training, right? We can improve or maintain our range of motion. We can improve our posture. We could improve our athletic performance, particularly in sports like MMA, like cheerleading, like gymnastics, where that is important to your performance. We may potentially have fewer injuries. We might have less muscle soreness. In class, we're going to do 2 assessments. We're going to do our sit and reach, and we're going to do a shoulder touch. Now, your reading is a little confusing sometimes. Sometimes people say you should stretch 3 times a week, 5 every day. So we're going to do a minimum of 3. Okay, we want to stretch to the point of discomfort, not pain. Pain is almost always bad. If you're a professional athlete, maybe you will need to experience pain in order to get to your goal. For the average person who is interested in getting health benefits, pain is bad. You don't need to experience pain. Discomfort, yes. All right. Once you get to that point of discomfort, you're going to hold for about 15 to 30 seconds. Dynamic stretching, so moving, is going to happen in the warm-up. Static stretching or still stretching will be saved for the cool down. And ballistic stretching, which is kind of stretching with some force behind it, we're going to save that mostly for athletes because there's the cost benefit is not there for an average person who's interested in health. Now, if you're trying to figure out how to stretch something, think about doing the opposite of strengthening. So if I'm sitting in a leg extension machine at the gym, right? That's the one where I'm seated and then there's weights across my ankles. And then I extend my legs and I'm working my quads like crazy, right? I'm extending. That's what the quads do. They make your legs straight. They extend the knee joint. So in order to stretch that, I'm going to do the opposite, which will look like this. I'm going to bend my knee, right? If I want to strengthen my hamstrings, these muscles here, then I need to bend my knee. If I want to stretch them, I want to straighten it. And body composition, the last of our 4 health-related components of fitness. Now, we're going to do some assessments. If we have access to bioelectrical scale, we will use that. That'll give us some good clues about our percentage of body fat versus lean body mass. We're going to do some circumference measurements, and then we're going to use some calculations to give us an idea of what our percentage of body fat might be. So, the average person gains 1 to 2 pounds of fat every year after 25 and loses a ½ pound of lean body mass. This is tragic. This is tragic. So in 1 year on a scale, if you gain 2 pounds of fat and lose a ½ pound of lean body mass, that might be, it'll show up about 1 pound on your scale. And you're like, all right, whatever. 1 pound is not that big a deal. But after 5 years, after 10 years, right? After 10 years, you will have gained 20 pounds of fat and lost 5 pounds of lean body mass. That's a huge swing in your body composition. And then by the time you get to be 50, 60, 70, you will have lost so much muscle that you will not be able to do your activities of daily living. And then we'll be in real trouble. Now, healthy fat ranges are listed here. We need fat. Fat is not evil. Our body needs fat to function. So, Generally, men will be between 12 and 20 for a healthy range. Women will be between 17 and 25 for a healthy range. This is important to pay attention to since 2/3 of the US adult population is overweight, and then half of those are obese. So basically right now, about 1/3 of our population is obese and about 1/3 of our population is overweight. I mean, no wonder our healthcare system is overwhelmed. So I wanted to throw a couple little other ideas at you before you start your exercise log. A couple different forms of training that might interest you. Cross training would be like, let's say that you're a runner. You run 5-6 days a week. You love to run. You want to be a better runner. But if you guys know runners, a lot of times they really, really like to run and don't like to do other things much. And that might lead to some injuries. So cross training would say that, okay, run 4 days a week and then maybe take a day to swim or do something different, a little bit lower impact, or maybe do some weight training. Okay, so that you use some of those muscle groups that you don't normally use and you can reduce the likelihood that you will get injured. Circuit training is fantastic for those of us, in particular for those of us who have not so much time, right? So in circuit training, we go from one exercise to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next with very little rest. So if I were just going to work my legs and do squats, I would do a set of squats and it would be maybe 8 reps, 9 reps, 10 reps, and I'd be really tired and then I'd put down the weight, I'd rest for a minute, maybe even 2, pick up the weight again, I'd do my squats, put the weight down, wait a minute or 2. So that can take a really long time. However, in order to get done more quickly and still get most of the benefit of the workout, I can do squats and then move right to rows. And then after that, I'm going to move right to hamstring curls. So my legs here are working. My legs are resting while I'm doing the rows. My legs are working. My legs are resting. So I'm just going to move from one to the next to the next. I might even include some cardio. I might add some jump rope here for 30 seconds and maybe some jumping jacks here for 30 seconds so that I can wrap everything up in one big, little workout bow. Interval training is another thing to look at. Or HIIT, high intensity interval training. Interval training, right, starts with an I. And intensity starts with an I. All interval training is changing the intensity of your work. So if this person, let's say this person is jogging, okay, and they're going to jog for a minute, and then they're going to walk for 2. Jog for a minute, walk for 2. Jog for a minute, walk for 2. So you're going to do a couple of these spikes during your workout. So this person here could not jog for the whole workout. They would not be able to complete 30 minutes of jogging. So what they're doing is jogging for a minute, then lowering the intensity for 2 minutes. And this is a great way to improve your fitness overall. It's also a really great way to burn some serious calories. So interval training is a really wonderful thing for almost everyone to try. You're going to want to incorporate it only once or twice during the week. If you're really doing hardcore intervals, it's not something you should do every day. But it can really help increase your VO2 max and it can burn crazy calories. So here ends our discussion of our 4 health-related components of fitness and the FIT principle. See you soon.